Imagine this moment as a doorway. On one side is the life you've been living, with its routines, habits, and patterns. On the other side is a version of your life that feels bigger, bolder, and more aligned with who you want to be. The distance between those two realities? 15 minutes. Life is an accumulation of moments, and each moment holds the potential for transformation. It's easy to get caught up in the rush of daily life and assume that change has to come in big, sweeping gestures, dramatic decisions, massive overhauls of who we are and what we do. We wait for that eureka moment, the big break, or the day when everything finally clicks. But what if I told you that profound change doesn't have to be a grand event? What if it's the small, intentional actions you take today, right now, that are the very thing that will shape your future? Every decision you make, no matter how small, adds a layer to the life you're building. Whether it's choosing to get out of bed earlier, dedicating 10 minutes to learning something new, or simply being kind to yourself when you mess up, these actions may seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they compound into something much more powerful. Imagine if you began every day by taking just 15 minutes to focus on a habit you want to develop or a goal you want to achieve. It could be reading a book, writing a journal entry, or stretching your body. Maybe it's taking a walk in nature to clear your mind. These actions, while small in themselves, are investments in your future. They may not give you instant results, but they set in motion a process of gradual growth and improvement. Over time, that investment in yourself will pay off in ways that might surprise you. The beauty of these small actions is that they are within your control. In a world full of uncertainty, where it's easy to feel like we're at the mercy of circumstances, we often overlook the power we hold in choosing our next step. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment or for everything to align. Right now, in this very moment, you have the ability to decide who you want to be and take a step toward that future. It's in the choice you make to start, no matter how small it is. This is how habits are formed, not by making one monumental decision, but by showing up every single day. A successful entrepreneur doesn't wake up one day and suddenly become successful because of one big gamble. They get there by consistently making the small decisions that add up, dedicating time to learning, improving, and refining their craft. A successful writer doesn't complete a best-selling book by writing 100 pages in a single day. They write one page, one paragraph, one sentence at a time. Over the course of months or years, those small daily commitments accumulate into something significant. The power of small actions lies in their ability to snowball. A single act of kindness might feel inconsequential, but it can create ripples of positivity that impact someone's entire day or even their life. In the same way, a small act of courage, like making a difficult phone call or confronting an uncomfortable truth, can open doors to new opportunities and growth. It's easy to dismiss these moments, but if you consistently make the choice to act with intention, you'll soon find that your life has shifted in ways you could never have predicted. This concept applies not only to personal growth, but to every aspect of your life. Financial security doesn't come from one windfall, but from consistently saving and investing over time. A strong, healthy relationship isn't built on grand gestures, but on the small, everyday acts of care, respect, and understanding. A fit body doesn't come from an intense workout every few months. It's the result of daily choices about what you eat, how you move, and how you rest. The key is to embrace the idea that small actions matter. It's easy to think that because the change is not immediate, it's not worth doing. We live in a world that demands instant results, but meaningful growth and change take time. Remember, the person you'll become in the next 15 years is being shaped by what you do today. Small actions today become the foundation for a more fulfilling tomorrow. One of the most powerful aspects of taking small, intentional actions is the momentum they create. You may not notice the difference in the short term, but over time, those small steps add up and create a momentum that carries you forward. It's like pushing a boulder uphill. At first, it's heavy and hard, but once you get it rolling, the effort required becomes less and less. It's the same with your personal growth. The more you show up for yourself, the easier it becomes to continue making progress. This is the beauty of consistency. It builds upon itself. The challenge, of course, is that small actions don't always yield immediate rewards. You may not see the benefits of your efforts right away, and that can be discouraging. But trust that the work you're putting in today is laying the groundwork for something bigger in the future. Just because you can't see the change happening doesn't mean it's not happening. Like planting a tree, you won't see the full growth until the roots have had time to establish themselves deep beneath the surface. Keep going even when you can't see the fruit of your labor. The future you are working toward is already being created, one small step at a time. Your future is not some distant dream that's out of your reach. It's something you are actively creating right now. And the beauty is that you don't need to take giant leaps. The key to lasting transformation lies in the small, intentional actions you take today. They may seem insignificant, but over time, they will shape the future you're building. So ask yourself, what small, intentional action can you take right now to create the future you want? It doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be done. Let your small actions today be the foundation for the extraordinary life you'll live tomorrow. Vulnerability is often viewed as a weakness, something we should avoid at all costs. In a world that celebrates strength, achievement, and invulnerability, showing our true self's flaws, fears, and all can feel like a risky, uncomfortable choice. It's easier to put on a mask, present a polished version of ourselves, and avoid facing the uncertainties and emotional discomfort that come with vulnerability. But what if I told you that vulnerability is not a weakness at all? In fact, it is the key to meaningful growth and success. Embracing vulnerability is one of the most powerful choices you can make on the path to achieving your goals and becoming the person you want to be. It's the courage to be authentic, to show up in the world as your true self, even when you're unsure of the outcome. And while it might feel uncomfortable or even terrifying at first, vulnerability is the very thing that opens the door to deep, transformative change. Let's begin by acknowledging something fundamental. Vulnerability is not the same as weakness. Weakness is about hiding, retreating, and avoiding risk. Vulnerability, on the other hand, is about being open and exposed. It's the willingness to put yourself out there even when you don't know how things will turn out. It's about embracing uncertainty and risk, not because you're naive, but because you trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. Consider the process of personal growth. Growth doesn't happen when we stay inside our comfort zones, avoiding the difficult conversations, the uncomfortable situations, or the things that make us feel vulnerable. Growth happens when we step into the unknown, when we choose to take risks, when we allow ourselves to be seen even in our imperfection. When we embrace vulnerability, we open ourselves to learning, to change, and to new opportunities. We stop pretending to be perfect, and instead we allow ourselves to be fully human. The path to success, whether it's personal, professional, or relational, requires vulnerability. Think about the most successful and influential people you know. What often sets them apart is not that they have all the answers or that they never make mistakes. It's that they are willing to show up authentically, to admit when they don't know something, to fail and try again, and to share their struggles and challenges with others. Their vulnerability creates connections, fosters trust, and allows them to relate to others in a meaningful way. If you think about it, the most significant breakthroughs often come from moments of vulnerability. When someone steps up to give a speech, perform on stage, or share their story, they're exposing themselves to judgment and potential failure. But it is precisely this act of vulnerability that makes their message powerful. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open up space for others to do the same. We create opportunities for connection, collaboration, and innovation. Without vulnerability, there can be no true connection. Without vulnerability, we remain isolated, disconnected from others, and disconnected from our own potential. Vulnerability also plays a crucial role in building resilience. Life is filled with ups and downs, successes and failures, and challenges we cannot anticipate. In these moments, vulnerability allows us to process our emotions, to ask for help, and to learn from our mistakes. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we need to have it all together, that we need to appear perfect and unshakable. But the truth is, everyone faces difficulties. And it is in our moments of vulnerability, when we acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, that we are able to adapt, grow, and ultimately succeed. One of the greatest obstacles to embracing vulnerability is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of looking foolish. But here's the thing, fear will always be present. It's part of the human experience. The key is not to eliminate fear, but to learn how to navigate it. When we acknowledge our fears and choose to move forward anyway, we create the conditions for growth and success. In fact, fear often signals that we are on the edge of something important, something that will stretch us, challenge us, and help us grow. Another misconception about vulnerability is that it's always about being emotionally open. While emotional vulnerability is a crucial aspect, vulnerability also manifests in different forms. It can be intellectual vulnerability, admitting that you don't know something or asking for help. It can be physical vulnerability, pushing your body beyond its limits or stepping into a space where you're not fully in control. It can be professional vulnerability, taking on a new role or responsibility that requires you to stretch your skills and knowledge. Each of these forms of vulnerability requires courage, but it's through them that we expand our capabilities and deepen our understanding. In relationships, vulnerability is the foundation for intimacy and trust. You can't build deep, meaningful connections with others if you're unwilling to show them your authentic self. Whether it's in friendships, romantic relationships, or work environments, the ability to be vulnerable, sharing your thoughts, feelings, fears, and dreams creates the space for others to do the same. This mutual exchange of vulnerability fosters trust, empathy, and understanding, which are essential for any healthy relationship. It's important to note that vulnerability doesn't mean exposing yourself in an unprotected or reckless way. It's not about oversharing or putting yourself in situations where you're unsafe or emotionally unprepared. Instead, vulnerability is about being honest, open, and authentic in a way that feels right for you. It's about showing up as you are, with all your imperfections, knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and connection, regardless of the outcome. So how do you embrace vulnerability in your own life? Start small. Take small steps to show up more authentically in your daily interactions. Share a thought, a fear, or a feeling you've been holding inside. Ask for help when you need it. Let go of the need for perfection and allow yourself to make mistakes. Over time, you'll begin to realize that vulnerability is not only the key to growth and success, but it's also the gateway to a richer, more fulfilling life. Remember, vulnerability is not a liability, it is your greatest strength. By embracing it, you open yourself to the possibilities of who you can become and the impact you can make. It's through vulnerability that we grow, connect, and ultimately thrive. In today's fast-paced, results-driven world, the pursuit of perfection can often overshadow the importance of consistency. It's tempting to think that success or growth comes from the occasional, extraordinary effort, the big breakthrough, the monumental leap forward, or the sudden burst of inspiration. We are bombarded with messages that celebrate perfection, flawless execution, and immediate success. But in reality, perfection is an illusion, and the true key to success lies in one thing: consistency. Consistency is the quiet, persistent force that drives real change. It's the practice of showing up for yourself every day, regardless of how you feel, how much progress you've made, or whether you see immediate results. It's about building habits that support your goals and sticking to them even when the path feels long or difficult. While perfectionism often leads to procrastination, self-doubt, and burnout, consistency provides the steady rhythm needed to create lasting change, growth, and success. It's important to acknowledge that consistency doesn't mean you have to be perfect every time. It's not about doing everything flawlessly or achieving perfection in every action. Instead, it's about showing up, doing the work, and committing to the process, even when things don't go exactly as planned. Perfectionism often focuses on the outcome, how well you perform, how much you achieve, and how others perceive you. Consistency, on the other hand, is about honoring the process, no matter how messy or imperfect it might feel. It's about committing to daily actions, even when you don't feel like it or when the results aren't immediately visible. Think about how habits are formed. Whether you're trying to improve your fitness, learn a new skill, or develop a new mindset, the key to success is not in occasional bursts of intense effort, but in the consistency of your actions over time. One workout will not transform your body, just as one day of studying will not make you an expert in a subject. It's the steady accumulation of small, consistent actions that leads to long-term results. The beauty of consistency is that it compounds. What starts as a small, seemingly insignificant action can lead to profound change when repeated consistently over time. For example, imagine you set a goal to write for just 10 minutes every day. Initially, 10 minutes may not seem like much, hardly enough time to produce something remarkable. But after a month, you've written 300 minutes. After a year, you've written over 3,600 minutes. And in that time, you've developed not only the habit of writing, but also your skills, your creativity, and your ability to express yourself. Consistency compounds, and over time, these small actions create a snowball effect that can lead to tremendous growth. Consistency also builds resilience. In any journey toward growth, there will be challenges, setbacks, and moments when things don't go as planned. Perfectionism often leads to frustration and self-criticism when things go wrong. We beat ourselves up for not doing things perfectly and may even give up altogether. But when we focus on consistency, we allow ourselves to stumble, learn from our mistakes, and keep going. Consistency is not about avoiding failure, it's about showing up every day and doing the work, regardless of whether the results are perfect or immediate. It's through consistency that we develop the resilience to keep moving forward, even in the face of obstacles. Another important aspect of consistency is that it fosters self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to stay focused and committed to a goal, even when external motivation is lacking. Motivation may come and go, but consistency relies on your commitment to the process, regardless of how you feel on any given day. By consistently taking action, you build the muscle of discipline. This is particularly powerful because over time, consistency becomes a habit, and habits no longer require constant motivation. Once you've built a habit, showing up becomes effortless, even on days when you don't feel particularly motivated. Consistency is the bridge between your current reality and the future you want to create. Let's also talk about the power of small wins. Often we think that success comes from making a huge leap forward or achieving a major milestone. But the truth is, success is built on small, everyday wins. Each time you show up for yourself, whether it's completing a small task, sticking to your routine, or following through on your commitments, you are creating momentum. These small wins add up and reinforce your commitment to your goals. Over time, they build confidence, increase motivation, and strengthen your belief in your ability to succeed. It's these small, consistent actions that form the foundation for larger accomplishments. Furthermore, consistency fosters growth in all areas of your life. Whether you're working on your physical health, mental well-being, relationships, or career, showing up consistently leads to improvement. In your career, consistently delivering high-quality work and continuously learning new skills positions you for advancement. In relationships, consistency in showing love, respect, and understanding strengthens the bond between you and others. In your physical health, daily consistency in exercise and nutrition leads to long-term wellness. The more consistent you are, the more you grow and improve in every area of life. Perfectionism, by contrast, often leads to self-imposed pressure, burnout, and dissatisfaction. The constant pursuit of perfection can paralyze you, making you fearful of making mistakes and preventing you from moving forward at all. Perfectionists often put things off until they feel everything is just right, but that day rarely comes. They wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect idea, or the perfect time to start, but this only leads to stagnation. Perfectionism thrives on the belief that anything less than flawless is a failure, which only holds you back from achieving your true potential. Consistency, however, embraces imperfection. It acknowledges that mistakes are part of the process and that progress is built step by step by step. By committing to show up for yourself every day, whether you succeed or fail, whether you feel like it or not, you are creating the conditions for growth. In the end, consistency is what turns your goals into reality, and it's what propels you forward even when the road gets tough. So rather than focusing on perfection, commit to consistency. Show up for yourself daily and trust that your small actions will add up over time. Don't let the fear of imperfection hold you back. Embrace the power of showing up. And remember that it's not the perfect moments that define success, it's the consistent effort you put in, day after day, that leads to lasting change and meaningful achievement. It's easy to think of the future as something distant and abstract concept that exists somewhere beyond our immediate experience. We often believe that our future will simply unfold based on external circumstances, or that it will be shaped by forces beyond our control. But the truth is that your future is not some distant, inevitable event. Your future is being created right now with every choice you make in the present moment. The decisions you make today, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, are the building blocks of the life you will live tomorrow. When you stop and really think about it, the realization can be both empowering and sobering. Your future self, the person you hope to become, the life you want to live, the legacy you want to leave behind depends entirely on the choices you make right now. Each decision you make is like a brick in the foundation of the life you will live. Whether it's choosing to invest in your health, take on a new challenge at work, or deepen your relationships with loved ones, the choices you make today will echo through your future. Often, we make choices without fully considering their long-term impact. It's easy to prioritize short-term comfort or immediate gratification without thinking about how those choices will affect our future selves. A moment of indulgence, a quick decision to avoid discomfort, or an impulse to procrastinate can feel good in the moment, but these choices can have a compounding effect on your future. When you put off the hard work today, you may find yourself facing the consequences tomorrow. But when you make choices that are aligned with your long-term goals, even if they require discomfort or sacrifice in the present, you are investing in a future that aligns with your values and aspirations. One of the most powerful aspects of being conscious of your future self is realizing that you don't have to wait for the right time to make important decisions. The best time to start building your future is right now, in this very moment. The future isn't a distant event that will somehow magically appear. It's a continuation of the choices you make today. Waiting for things to be perfect, waiting until you feel motivated or inspired, or waiting until the circumstances are just right will only delay the creation of the life you want to live. Your future self will thank you for the decisions you make now, not the ones you put off for later. Take a moment to think about the future you envision for yourself. What kind of life do you want to lead? What kind of person do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5, 10, or 20 years? The key to getting there is making decisions that move you closer to that vision, even if they seem small at the time. Your future self will not appear out of nowhere. She will be shaped by the habits, actions, and decisions you make each day. If you want a future filled with health, success, and happiness, you need to start making choices today that align with those outcomes. One of the biggest barriers to making decisions that support our future selves is the temptation of immediate gratification. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, and this can lead us to make decisions that feel good in the short term but may not serve us in the long term. For example, it's easy to choose a few extra hours of sleep instead of waking up early to exercise, or to spend money impulsively on something that offers temporary pleasure instead of saving or investing for the future. While these choices may feel satisfying in the moment, they ultimately take us further away from our long-term goals. The trick, however, is learning how to prioritize the long-term rewards over the short-term gratification. This requires building the ability to delay gratification and recognize that sometimes the choices that are difficult or uncomfortable today will lead to a far greater reward tomorrow. The choices you make today may not give you instant satisfaction, but they will pay off in the form of a stronger, healthier, and more successful version of yourself down the road. This idea is not just about making big decisions either. The small choices we make every day also have an enormous impact on our future. Every time you choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator, to pick up a book instead of scrolling on your phone, to take a moment to connect with a loved one instead of retreating into isolation, you are creating the conditions for a better future. Every time you decide to invest in learning something new, to practice a skill, or to step out of your comfort zone, you are building the future you want to create. These small choices may seem inconsequential, but they add up over time and create a life that reflects your values and aspirations. In addition, making choices that support your future self often means embracing discomfort and taking risks. It's easy to stay where you are, to avoid change, and to stick with what feels comfortable. But growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. If you want to create a future that is more aligned with your goals and dreams, you have to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone. This might mean saying no to short-term pleasures, taking a leap of faith, or making sacrifices in the present to invest in your long-term growth. These choices are difficult in the moment, but they are the very decisions that will help you achieve the life you envision. One powerful way to approach your choices is to ask yourself this question: what would my future self thank me for today? This simple question helps you gain perspective and make decisions from a place of long-term vision rather than immediate desire. It helps you shift your mindset from focusing on what feels good now to focusing on what will truly serve you in the future. It's a powerful tool for reminding yourself that the choices you make today are investments in the life you want to live tomorrow. Ultimately, your future self is not some distant stranger. Your future self is you, shaped by the decisions you make right now. Whether you're investing in your health, your career, your relationships, or your personal growth, every choice you make today is contributing to the life you will live in the future. The question is, what kind of future do you want to create? The only way to get there is to start making choices that align with that vision today. Your future self is depending on it. In conclusion, the path to a fulfilling and successful life is shaped by the choices you make in the present moment. Your future is not a distant event that will unfold on its own, but a creation of the decisions you make right now. By embracing vulnerability, committing to consistency, and being mindful of the power of your choices, you are actively building the future you want to live. Remember, it's not about waiting for the perfect moment or striving for unattainable perfection, but about showing up for yourself every day, even in the face of uncertainty. Each small, consistent action compounds over time, creating lasting change and growth. Every decision, no matter how small, contributes to the person you are becoming, and each choice is a building block for the life you will lead. Your future self depends on the actions you take today. So take a moment to reflect on the life you want to create and ask yourself, what can I do today that my future self will thank me for? By making decisions that align with your long-term goals, you'll not only shape a future filled with success and fulfillment, but you'll also experience a deeper sense of purpose and meaning in your journey. Show up for yourself, trust the process, and know that your future is being built with every choice you make.